It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of June 30th, 1995. 5 movies to look at, so let's get right to it. And we'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is Ron Howard's Apollo 13.
On the 13th minute of the 13th hour, the 13th Apollo mission was launched. A million things could have gone wrong.
Our next broadcast will be from the surface of the moon.
On April 13th, one did.
Houston, we have a problem.
We got a wicked shimmy up here.
Houston, we are venting something out into space. It's definitely a gas of some sort.
This is Houston. Say again, please.
It must be the oxygen.
You see what I see?
Fight. Their heart rates are skyrocketing.
We have a 401 alarm. It can't be real.
Oh, man, it is fighting me, Jack. What's the story here?
I keep losing radio signal. That can't happen. It's got to be instrumentation.
We got some serious time pressure here. We're looking at less than 15 minutes of life support left.
Like they're all over the place. Damn, we're losing it.
We never lost an American in space. We're sure as hell not going to lose one on my watch.
I mean, what more can you say about Apollo 13 that hasn't really honestly been said? It's one of the greatest space movies ever made, and the movie that kind of made turned Ron Howard's career around as a director. I mean, he had directed some notable films. Directed Splash, Cocoon, Backdraft, Far and Away, The Paper, but this was the movie that got him 9 Academy Award nominations and kind of solidified him as a solid director overall. This movie went on to become a huge critical hit, a huge box office hit. Didn't win too many Oscars, only winning 2 of them, even though it had 9 nominations, but it's still a pretty damn good movie. It's a movie that just works on so many levels. I mean, the effort that Ron Howard goes to make this as technically accurate as they can, the accuracy in this movie actually surprisingly holds up really well. Like, you got a great cast overall that includes Tom Hanks, Kevin Bacon, Bill Paxton, Ed Harris, Gary Sinise, and it's a very visually pleasing movie. This movie came out over 25 years ago, and it still looks impressive after all these years. It's a film that just holds up so well. The drama, the intensity is still there. It's just a really amazing, amazing film. It's right up there with movies like Quiz Show, where they play it as close to accurate as you think they would get with the story that they have to work with. And it's just so much intrigue to watch. The movie is just beautifully done on so many levels. The music by James Horner is great. The cinematography by Dean Cudney is great. The writing by William Broyles Jr. of Castaway fame is great too. The cast is fantastic. The direction is amazing. It's just a really, really great film. I can't really say too much more about this movie that hasn't already been said already, because really, you can quote the lines from the movie. Houston, we have a problem. The scenes of the rocket ship going up in the air are iconic. It's just a great, great movie. I really don't have any much more to add to this movie. It's just, if you haven't seen Apollo 13 by now, you're doing yourself a huge disservice by not doing so. So, yeah, definitely check out Apollo 13. So, on that note, let's move on to the next movie. And why did I say on that note? Because our next movie is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie, which it's an interesting one. We'll talk more about it after this.
This summer, our world will come under attack
The mayor has declared a state of emergency.
by the most evil force ever known. He has armies at his command, and only one power on Earth can stop him. Welcome to my nightmare. Now, the ultimate adventure begins.
Hi, honey. I'm home.
You garlic sucking dingle brain!
We're the Power Rangers.
Woo! Where's my autograph book?
More action, adventure. More power. The ooze is back.
You lose, you lose.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. The movie, The Power, is on June 30th.
I mean, Fox really wanted Mighty Morphin Power Rangers to blast off into the big screen, like become a major hit, because I remember watching commercials for the Pagemaster, and at the end of one of the commercials, they had a thing basically saying, go see the Pagemaster, and you get a pre-poster for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie. And I think the first trailer actually was on there. And, by the way, I have that poster right here. I didn't go see the movie, but I just got this on eBay not too long ago for a reasonable price. But you know what? It's a nice looking poster, too. It's a really good teaser poster that fits with the trailer that they had for the Pagemaster. And, in fact, let me show you that commercial I was talking about right now.
The Pagemaster, rated G, starts Wednesday at theaters everywhere. See The Pagemaster, and kids get a free Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie mini poster while supplies last.
So, yeah, they were expecting this to be a big hit right away, and confidentially, I'm fully admitting that I was a fan of the original Power Rangers, but like with most things I like, I stuck around for the original Power Rangers, and then kind of headed out after the newer incarnations happened. Like, when this movie was coming out, I was pumped. I wanted to see it on the big screen, and I never got the chance to do it. It was already out of theaters before we could see it. Instead, we saw Free Willy 2, which is another interesting movie, which we'll get to eventually, but I did eventually see the Power Rangers movies on video. I liked it back then, but as a kid, but it's been almost 30 years later, and I can freely admit that, yeah, it does not hold up well at all. It's a piece. I'm not gonna say it's a piece of shit, but it's a piece of shit that's not as bad as the other piece of shit Power Rangers movie that came out 2 years later. If you know about Turbo Power Rangers movie, which we will get to eventually, but like with Space Jam, another movie that I loved from the 90s that's not really all that great. There are elements of this that I do like, but the overall plot and outcome is just really ridiculously stupid. For one thing, the suits definitely got a bigger upgrade compared to the TV series. The suits the Rangers wear in this, they're nice looking, they hold up pretty well. A lot of the elements have a bigger budget from the TV show, like the Command Center looks a lot better, Alpha looks a lot better, Zordon looks a lot better. Those are the scenes you could definitely tell where the budget went into this, and it's a shame that the rest of the movie looks like garbage. I mean, the rest of this movie just looks bad. The CG effects are really, really bad. Like, the effects do not hold up whatsoever, especially on the creatures at the end of the movie. It's like, they look like creatures that you would see on an MS-DOS game, that computer game from the 90s. That's how bad they were. Like, the creatures in Zords looked like garbage. They were way better movies coming out at the time that had way better CG effects than this. And there were even TV shows that had better special effects than this. But, at the same time, though, there are some effects that still hold up. Like the skeleton scene when they go off to the place they have to go to get these new powers at. There's a skeleton action sequence that actually still kind of holds up. It looks like practical effects, kind of. So I guess I gotta give them that, but I think the biggest problem with the movie overall is that the movie had no purpose. The villain's motivation has no purpose. I mean, he basically just wants to take over the world, but in order to do it, he has to manipulate the parents of Angel Grove with ooze and turns them into zombies who can't be changed back unless they're doused in water by a kid whose parent is one of the zombies and is able to drive a train to the construction site on his own. And then the Rangers have to send Ivan Ooze, who has somehow taken over one of these creatures that they face at the end of the movie, to become a bigger threat to space, to be kicked in the nuts into Ryan's comment. Does any of this make any sense whatsoever? No, of course not. Is it cool to look at? As a 6-year-old, yes, it was cool to look at. But you know what? As an adult, you gotta notice these type of things. And like I said, this is a bad movie, but it's not the bad Power Rangers movie. I mean, the problem with this movie comes from the lackluster story, bad villain development, some really cheesy CG effects. It's like they spent the $15 million budget on... That's the interesting thing. This had only a $15 million budget. It's like they spent it upgrading the command center, upgrading the suits, and going for more exotic locations, like shooting in Australia, and then that's all they had to work with. But I'm not going to lie, there are moments that are very good. There are fun moments, like the action sequences are silly but fun. Paul Freeman as Ivan Ooze does get a couple of decent laughs, but it does not hold up well as you think. But you know what? It's still a ton of fun, so... Plus, that soundtrack is amazing, too. I mean, that movie was my introduction to Van Halen's Dreams, and that's one of the greatest songs of all time. I don't care what anybody says. But, I guess so for that, I give it maybe 2.5 stars, maybe. But overall, it's not a good movie, but I will gladly take it over Turbo easily. Maybe not the newer Power Rangers movie, the one that came out recently, which was actually surprisingly good, but we'll eventually get to those movies down the line. So, anyway, that is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie. So let's move on to the next movie that we have here, now the Sylvester Stallone in Judge Dredd.
When there is crime in society, there is no justice. As a city, we continue to grow.
73 citizen riots.
Come and get us! Turn on your weapons and prepare to be judged! Judge this! Court's adjourned. Dredd, you're a legend. You were my finest student. Get Dredd! Dredd! You're under arrest.
What's the charge?
Murder. The evidence has been falsified! Guilty as charged. I am not the law! I am the law!
Chaos.
The sentence shall be life imprisonment.
I'm the chaos. Dredd?
Very crushing power!
Excuse me? We're not together.
It's not for this council to play God!
Who says politics is boring?
So just on that trailer alone, you could probably think to yourself, I mean, it doesn't look like a bad movie. It looks like it's kind of going for what the comics are about. But if you take away the visual look of the film, the effects, the music, the action, the stunt sequences, and you notice the big problem with Sylvester Stallone playing Judge Dredd. If you've read the Judge Dredd comics, you would know that Judge Dredd never takes his helmet off, and as you can see in this trailer, he takes his helmet off several times, which, okay, that's one of the big things that you shouldn't do with Judge Dredd, but if Sylvester Stallone can at least try to act like Judge Dredd, then maybe this could work. And no way, he can't do that. Like, this movie is a disaster, man. Like, this is a movie that's just kind of like, wow, you almost had this so sewn up, but because you have Sylvester Stallone, you can't just have him just wear the mask, because Judge Dredd never takes off his helmet. Helmet is what I was trying to say, not mask. He never takes his helmet off in the comic books, but no, we got to do it here because nobody's going to be able to tell Sylvester Stallone is Judge Dredd. Like, that voice of his is like, if you can't figure out that that's Sylvester Stallone just by the voice and the lip movement alone, then I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, this movie is a mess. Like, visually, it looks very pleasing, but story-wise, it's a huge misfire. Comedy-wise, it's a huge misfire. The talent is there. There's potential there with all the people that they have in here, but the lines they're given are just so terrible. And, like, moments that are supposed to be threatening are actually friggin' hilarious. Like, Stallone and Armin Asante having a "you betrayed the law" sequence, and they can't just say the word law. They have to be like, "Whoa!" Like he's like a lion roaring or something. I mean, like, those moments are silly. They're supposed to be threatening, but I cannot help but laugh at them because the people that are doing this clearly have no idea what they're doing. Like, they have no idea what the motivation is, and you have a director here in Danny Cannon who has gone on to become a prolific television director, mostly directing CSI, bunch of the CBS procedural dramas and all that type of stuff, and I just don't think he was the right guy to make this movie. Like, you really needed to get people who know the comic books and know how to make this work, and that's why, like, almost 20 years later, we got a far superior Judge Dredd movie with Dredd, starring Carl Urban, which I highly recommend checking out over this piece of junk right here. That movie just works on so many levels. It's directed by the guy who did Vantage Point, but you could tell that he loved the comics book so much and Carl Urban too. Like, you could tell that he loved the comics, that he said, if I'm doing this, I'm not taking the helmet off. And like, they get the character down, and nobody went to go see it. It was a huge critical hit, but it bombed at the box office. It has gone on to have a huge cult following, and hopefully one day we'll get a sequel with Carl Urban again. But this movie was just so bad on so many levels. Like, Rob Schneider in this movie is just so annoying. Like, in Demolition Man, he was fine in Demolition Man. He worked off Stallone very well in the little bits of the scenes he was in, but no, he has to be buddy with him in this movie, and it just gets so annoying so fast. It's just like, it's a mess. It's a mess of a movie. It was a movie that nearly killed Stallone's career. It's just, I got nothing else more to say about this one. This is a terrible, terrible movie. Judge Dredd, avoid it like crazy. So those are the three notable big new releases. There are two other smaller releases that came out, so let's talk about those briefly, and starting off with Bandit Queen.
Evergreen Entertainment presents a powerful and extraordinary film that the New York Post gives 4 stars. Astounding and overpowering, says the Daily News. Dramatic with superb performances, says the London Guardian. While the Hollywood Reporter calls it a mesmerizing picture. Bandit Queen.
That was literally 30 seconds of nothing but critical reviews before you even know what the movie was about. Like, this isn't a TV spot I took this from. This is from a trailer, and they spent a third of this trailer talking about what all the critics said about it. And so if you want to know what the plot of this movie tells the story of the Bandit Queen, Fulan DV. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I could be wrong on that, but Fulan DV, who was sentenced to prison in 1983 and got freed in 1994. For 5 years, she was prosecuted by the Indian police and turned into a legend like a modern-day Robin Hood by the Indian press, although the press tended to make her the optimal hero with blue eyes, dark hair, being tall and beautiful. She was in reality an average Indian, which makes it hard for the movie to fulfill the expectations of the audience and tell the truth at the same time. And later into her life, she went into politics and actually got assassinated in 2001. So, it's an interesting concept for a movie. It's a story I don't really know too much about, but it looks visually pleasing, and the story does seem very interesting as well. So, that's really all I got to say about this one. But it definitely has a lot of promise to it. Aside from the reviews for it, I looked at the full trailer. The full trailer itself looked pretty good. So, I don't know, maybe it could be something worth interesting, but that's pretty much all I know about Bandit Queen. So let us move on to the last movie, and that is Lie Down with Dogs. So the movie centers around a guy named Tommy. He's a recent college graduate who's broke and fed up with life in Manhattan, but he's gay too, and he decides to drop everything and head for the ultimate seaside party town in Provincetown, Massachusetts, and finally start to bust loose. For one wild and glorious summer in the sun, Tommy finds exactly what he needs in this fun-loving beach resort: love, friendship, and a chance to party down. That's really everything I know about this movie because I've never seen it. Don't really have a huge interest in seeing it, but as you can tell, it's a gay romantic comedy kind of. It's not, like I said, it's nothing that really makes me want to see it, but I mean, it could be something good, but it's something that I really don't have any interest in seeing right now or in the near future, but you never know, that could change. But I sincerely doubt it. But like I said, I haven't seen it, I can't really comment on it too much, but it's a movie that came out this weekend, so that is Lie Down with Dogs. And so on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. Next week, we'll look at Species, starring Mark Helgenberger and also Natasha Henstridge. And we'll also look at First Night with Richard Gere and Julia Ormond. And also Carmen Miranda, Bananas is My Business. So 3 movies to look at next time around. We'll delve into those on the next episode. But until then, Thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So thank you for watching, I'll see you next time, and until then, as always, take care.